And that's the other thing is, I have Deadpool #1 sitting right here next to me. What is it graded? 9.8. But the reality is I haven't read that book. And I can't read that book unless I want to crack the slab open.
Yeah.
What is that? You know what I'm saying? Nobody's been able to read Marvel #1. Like, we owe Marvel a great thanks. Like, and Veve, thank you. You know what I'm saying? I would have never gotten it. Even if I had $1 million, okay, I'd go get Marvel #1. It's going to be graded. And if it's not graded, it's going to be destroyed to where I can't read it.
Yeah, it's true, actually. Yeah.
So that's a certain added value to what we have that I don't think has been realized yet and respected yet. Obviously reflected in the prices, you know what I'm saying? So
good point.
That's actually a really good point. I didn't even think of that. Like, you can't even read Marvel 1 if you wanted to in real life. It's the first opportunity.
Right. To read it front to back right now. Augmented reality. You talk about utility. I mean, it's not the best form of utility, but it's something, you know what I'm saying? And even if you owned it, there's many books Joe has right now in his collection. And even if he wanted to force feed Marvel and rekindle his childhood into his children, he tie them up and glue their eyes and eyelids open and put toothpicks in them. And he's like, you're going to read every kind. Like, he can't let them touch it. He can't even risk it. He would have to literally tie their hands behind their back and flip the pages and read it out loud for them. And it's like, no, I could just transfer you the whole book on your phone, kid. Here you go.
Yeah.
And the thing is with my kids, I've showed them some comics, and they it's cool to them, but they don't share the same love for it. So that's where I see, man, maybe I need to reinvest my physical collectibles into digital, because when they're all into Roblox and digital skins, I show them a comic book on Veve and I augmented reality and they bugging out, and I'm like, this is where when they're 25 years old, that's where they're going to go ahead and reinvest. So I need to kind of set myself up for that. So that's where my head is at. So, okay. So, all right. So speaking of like back in the days and stuff, I know you mentioned the old school toys. So are there any old school toys that you no longer have, you threw them out, but you wish you would have held on to it? A physical collector.
I was a pretty big toy hoarder, I think. I'm pretty sure I wouldn't have let it happen. My mom might have thrown them all out. I don't know at this point, but I don't know offhand any that have escaped me. Maybe like some, not really toys, but maybe like some Pokemon cards or something like that, that I'm sure I had more than I know of right now, but that might be one thing.
What about you, Rob?
Yeah, I don't know if there's any specific toy I really wish I kept. I agree with Joe though. Like, I did have a group of Pokemon cards, but I actually played with them. I actually would go to school with my friends and play with them, and it wasn't just for Pokemon. I was part of the generation where there were Yu-Gi-Oh cards as well. So there were things that we would play with that we didn't realize now. Okay, I was just a kid. I was having some fun, but some of those might have been, maybe, I never really went back to confirm, but they might have been potentially worth something later on in life, which, if I knew as a child, or if I had a parent that understands collectibles, like, your kids have a parent that understands collectibles, maybe they can identify for me something that could be good long term, just like parents are doing now with some of the newer toys that are coming out.
I mean, it happened to us too in our generation, because I implore you to look up how much original Garbage Pail Kids are. Like, those were like one of the original cars, at least here in America, that were like caricatures and offshoots of like popular things, but like sick and twisted to where it was almost questionable if a kid should even have this in possession. And then on top of them being cars, they were like stickers that you could peel off. So I remember when we first got them, it was like we used to have so many of them. Like, I used to have a knot like this, like a brick. You know what I mean? And then my friend would have a brick. And then sometimes you would have 2 or 3 of the same. So you guys start trading stuff. And then sometimes you guys have so much of the same car, you start actually peeling them off and putting them on stickers and and then now you look at it and you're like, damn, every single card, if I would have just left it alone, is worth something, So we went through it before you, and then before us was the people that had Babe Ruth and Hank Aaron cards all floating around and could have bought them 10 times over and didn't know. And
yeah,
well, I've seen these before. I've seen this baby before. This logo, yeah.
Yeah, man. I mean, I still have my original set, but my duplicates, I ended up, the ones I couldn't trade or whatever, I ended up throwing them out. You know, truth be told, I don't have any duplicates. I back in the days, I sold some, traded some, but you know, they were going for like 10 cents each or something.
Right. That's those
You know what I'm
days,
saying?
man.
So Rob, if you were gonna be a superhero, what superhero would you be? What power would you have?
If I had to be a superhero, I don't know. I think I definitely like the one thing. I guess maybe I'm drawn to superhero movies in general is that you always helping somebody, right?
Yeah.
So I really don't know. Like if I had to pick one power, it would be related to something. If I had a chance to think about it, that would help people the most. So what's her name? Cersei. She has the healing power, maybe from the Eternals. Who is it? There's one of them there that's able to heal other people when they're hurt. I wouldn't mind that.
Okay, very dope. Have you ever played any MMORPG games?
Yeah, I've played RPG games, but is there one in mind that you have?
Well, because you said healer, the first thing I thought of
Oh,
was
okay. Yeah.
you know, a game like that.
Fortnite.
Rocking, you know, you're the healer, you know, the designated healer. Gotta have
Yeah.
a healer in the group.
If it's something like that, I want to be on the front line. That's a little bit different, but
Oh, okay.
put me in the front line. I'm running right in. But yeah.
Cool, man. What about you, Joe?
I think it'd just be cool because you can't do it right now, like flying, just like Superman, straight up, let me fly somewhere. Laser beams through my eyes, that type of thing. Just and he's chiseled, right? So everybody wants to be Superman.
For sure, man, for sure.
So I got a question. All right, so let's stay back when you were growing up. Give me your favorite 3 like TV shows. Like not, well, we're gonna do cartoons, we do sitcoms.
Sitcoms, because we kind of touched on the cartoons. So
Right. Yeah, sitcoms.
Okay, so oh, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say Seinfeld has to be there,
Yeah.
like right at the top. Because I used to before bed, even in elementary school, 10 o'clock, I'd always watch a half an hour of Seinfeld, no matter what.
10
It was
o'clock.
Was you too?
Yeah, Seinfeld's like the one on the list.
How funny.
Then after that, what else do we got? Next
Friends.
couple. I was never big into Friends.
I was big into Friends.
Yeah. So
And
sitcoms are.
yeah, sitcoms are tough. I think in like because
Full House.
That's true. Full House, Boy Meets World, that type of stuff.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
I don't know if I can give you 3 because if I did watch them, like we can't count The Simpsons. I actually used to watch Simpsons. That doesn't count.
Yeah.
So
That's
that
true.
counts,
That's
sitcom.
the
that
longest
counts.
running sitcom on
Yeah, that's
television.
kind of
okay, all right, there we go.
Simpsons, everybody's in.
Simpsons is there for sure then.
That is the definition of a sitcom nowadays.
All right,
Yeah.
all right.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. I love The Simpsons. You know, you brought up The Simpsons. I'm curious. Do you have a Homer Bart golden moment?
I don't.
I came too late. I joined in the middle of the week, so I got the Avengers logo. I think was my first one, and I sold that, and I turned it into Elsa at the time, which was good. A good move, I think.
I think so too. I agree.
Yeah, for sure. For sure. I mean, since we're talking about Veve now, what is your, if you're cool with answering this, your most valuable Veve collectible?
I think R2D2 past Superman, right?
It's
Yeah.
R2D2 7,000 and change, like 7,400.
Yeah, I got him on drop. So
Superman is down to like 5K.
Yeah, they were flipping, so I knew R2D2 was taking off. So I guess R2D2.
I think Superman is at like 4 or 5, right?
Yeah, I still think he's really good long-term Superman. I mean, especially when the athletes get into space, right?
Yo, that R2D2 during this dip, he's been strong. He's like, man, I'm not going anywhere.
Yeah,
I'm actually going up. Him and the partner statue and C3PO went all those 3 out of a group of 30 or something that I was looking at. They were the only ones that went up in the last couple of weeks. So, man, that R2D2.
Look out for the C3PO run up.
Yeah, I think so too.
It's going up. It's going up. So what about you, Rob?
Yeah, so I would love to have, first of all, one of those Star Wars. That'd be amazing, because I actually like Star Wars. I wouldn't mind owning one of those. So I don't actually have one. I don't have, I would say, one big grail. I got in a little bit later, and I never won. I was never lucky enough to win, let's say, a secret rare that I can just sell for over $1,000. So I own over, I think I have over 50 collectibles now. And probably the most expensive one is Marvel Comics #1 at this point. So I don't have one of them that's worth, let's say, $3,000, but I spread it out over many collectibles in hopes that long term, that those many collectibles will help me catch up to some of the, as a collective group, to some of the more expensive ones.
Right. That's the question, is will that happen? Because it seems like, especially with the last increase or run up, whatever you want to call it, that we had, you had a certain percentage of the collectibles that all ran up at certain percentages, like together, and then you had some that still were left behind. And then eventually, day by day, each one of those started going and going and going and catching up. And then, so, in certain situations where you're hoping that you can buy a whole bunch of Deadpools, and then when it runs up, you sell it off, you got to look at that collectible you're still trying to chase. And you know what I'm saying? Because if that runs up at a certain percentage, you're not really gaining any ground, and you're still stuck where you were months ago, technically not able to get it. And I'm just speaking from a place of being there, that person that's like, oh, I'll sell this, this Golden Moment Iron Man, and I'll get back to it, and then you realize, like, the floor you saw, that next floor is not that last floor. You know what I'm saying? And you just, it's hard getting back, man. It's a tricky market. I learned my lesson. I got burned, and
Well, I always tell some of my friends this. It's like, I'm buying these collectibles, and it's such an inefficient market. So a lot of the times that price of, let's say, 22,000 collectibles is being set by 216 people. Okay, for a rounded number, we'll just say 200 people, right? So let's assume for a second, the rest of the people that don't have their collectible listed, they're not willing to sell at whatever that floor price is. So price has never been something that's really concerned me. It's more timing. Like, I own these collectibles, and I plan on owning them until Veve really becomes mainstream. I don't really know what the price is going to be. I just know that when it becomes mainstream, at that point in time, these collectibles will finally maybe realize what their true value is.
Now,
And I'm not going to let,
I can identify with that because I invest as if I was just still that person just coming in, because that's the way my money dictates that I hop in, at certain opportunities and things. So you're doing a combination of, like, hoping you get drops, and then trying to identify underpriced collectibles that you think are going to grow. Now, there's two ways even grabbing those, because you got some that you can grab and you're saying, all right, as long as this doubles up, I'll let it go. And then you have ones that you're like, yo, this is only $40, $50 now, but I know this thing is worth like 500 for whatever the reasoning is. So, that's a longer term hold if you really want to maximize, where you're going to sell at. So it's like, it's like you collect from different standpoints. So I guess the standpoint I was speaking of is one of where you have a certain type of buildup already, to where you have collectibles that you got into early and then they just laid in the waste, like a DeLorean, Common, or any of them, you know what I mean? Certain the boards, when those boards first dropped, they were sitting in the store. The store, you could buy them like days later. They were sitting in the store. If you went on the market to get them, they were under retail, most of the board. And then one day they just spiked to where it wasn't crazy like a run up you guys just saw, but it was at least a nice little almost double up, to where it made you think like, maybe there's something here. And it wasn't until the more recent run up that they really, everything started shining. So it's a weird thing where if you could really assess where stuff is at, you could still to this day, like, for example, at the time I bought a Fantastic Four 1 for $46, which at that time was an all-time high. There was no comic even that high yet. So like they tell you, never buy at the high, at the ceiling. Never buy this. But I'm sitting here saying, this book is at least worth $100. So I'm not willing to risk it running up anymore. And then it did. It went to 100. And then from there, it cracked over 100 once a bunch of other books started just running. So it's a weird, you just got to feel it out. And sometimes I just say, like, when you clear the noise out and you just evaluate what it is and where you think it's ultimately going, that'll allow you to kind of move in a certain way. But it definitely takes money, and it takes, hitting some nice drops, like you were saying,
Yeah.
sometimes.
It's an old saying, which is not a VV saying, but it's a general investment saying, which is sometimes you buy high to sell higher. And maybe it's high for a reason in the first place. And you can't get, like, VV is super inefficient, so you just can't get spooked by price changes. You gotta own it for the right reasons, and you gotta really commit to it. So if you get spooked every single drop, like, there's all sorts of factors. Like, we just see these gem squeezes happening all the time, with back-to-back $120 drop backed by a $40 drop. People they don't want to add more money in. They just want to sell off what they have and then run back and buy it back right afterwards. So
Right.
yeah, like right now, I agree totally. Like, there's gonna be people 6 months from now that are gonna enter for the first time, and they're gonna have to find their strategies to try to, over time, build up that gem base. So
And one thing now that me and Rob at least are doing, I mean, now that the big blue chips that have been released have kind of taken off. Maybe you have a couple now with the lenticular cards. I'm not sure what to think of that yet, but one thing we've been really doing now with all our leftover gems is getting into that MCP prep mode.
Exactly.
Because right now it's been released. It's something that they actually released on Medium, so there's some backing to it. If they do change it here or there, okay, we might hold a bag here, but we've been planning for that. So that's another thing we're planning for with everything running so much.
Yeah,
because you're still going to get Vader, you're still going to get Darth Vader, you're still going to get these guys, these big drops that are going to come and become blue chip. So if you can set yourself up for those, you're joining the party.
Absolutely. I love the strategy. Now, Rob, you mentioned when you're talking to friends about your collectibles and Veve. I'm curious, what do they say when your friends that you talk to, when you talk to them about Veve, what do they say?
the number one thing they say to me is, why would I buy something that I can't get my money out? That's what they say to me. That's the number one thing. So a lot of people think it's pretty cool that you can AR them and like take a photo with them. There's some people that are just obviously drawn to the potential of NFTs and the potential growth that you can get from them, from more of like call it what you want, an investment purpose, right? But the number one thing that I hear from any new user is, I don't really feel comfortable putting my money into an app where you need hundreds of dollars to even get started, really, if you want to get something half decent. And I can never see that money back because the functionality isn't there in the app yet for me to get the money out.
Yeah, man. I know. What about you, Joe?
It's the same story. I'm busting people at work all the time. Like, join the app. Like, you've seen my R2D2 go from $60 to $7K. What are you doing? What are you doing? It's going to be able to come out. They're partnering with big IP. These IPs aren't going to want to be embarrassed. They're not going to want to have people storming their door saying, you're not letting me take my money out.
Right.
Their name is on the line, right? So that's the backup line. But I think until you can take your money out, a lot of people, especially who don't have maybe much expendable income, they're going to be kind of scared away. And
what does your wife say about it, particularly Joe?
she's actually on the app, and she's asking me all the time what should she buy or whatnot. But the biggest gripe with her, and I think Rob can say the same, is the amount of time we spent doing our videos after work, and the less time we spend with them. But right now we're building something, and hopefully over time we can tailor it down a little bit.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, you get
John
keep the
G.
ladies happy.
No, yeah, for sure, man. John G in the chat, he's asking Toronto boys, yeah, man, Toronto in the building. John G, Toronto, awesome. I forgot to even mention that. That's right, John G, man, Toronto in the building. That's right. So